What's up, folks? Welcome back to the OTG YouTube channel. We're going to be talking about pieing doors today. And this is not something that we do a ton of. If you've watched previous videos, you've probably seen it here and there. We did a video 3 years ago on it, and we kind of want to expand on that just a little bit. So we're going to work through it around a couple of doors in here and try to cover all the nuance and the details as much as we can. So take it away, sir.
Yeah, oftentimes whenever we teach some type of room clearing curriculum, especially if it's force on force, that's when the pieing really comes out. Because dudes are scared of getting shot with the spicy Skittles or the little 6 mil, 8 mil BBs flying around door frames. So whenever it's just the dry movement or them just going through the motions, they'll typically pan a door quickly or do some type of dynamic movement. However, when the BB starts flying or the sims start going, you'll see guys really start to kind of slow down and take little small pieces as not to overexpose. Because our role players are trained, hey, you see that leg sticking out, you see that elbow, that chicken wing as they're leaning, to go ahead and tag those. So you'll see a lot of changed behavior based on what we're doing, and that's where the panning kind of really showcases its skill set.
I think that any kind of slow movement from outside the door in training ends up becoming, because it works in the training, people go, oh, well, this is going to work in real life, and we forget that the real environment we operate in the US is often drywall. So just because it worked with the BBs, we have to remind students, hey, look, that role player's tagging the wall right where you're standing. He knows right where you're at. In real life, you're hit, right? You're out. So you've got to move, you got to get in there. So we really try to blend that and explain, hey, yeah, this is working for you, but in real life, that bullet's going through the wall.
Right.
And you can probably see some of the tarps we have in here. We like to have permeable wall panels so that you can shoot through the walls as a role player. So we'll have guys that are panning around a door or pieing around a door, moving real slow, and if they're noise compromised or they've been seen already or whatever, those BBs start zipping through the wall, and it teaches them, hey, I can't just stand still. It's not real cover. So cover and concealment also plays into this as well.
Yeah, and that's where we get into, our priorities, our principles of movement, and that speed versus security. They feel secure standing around a plywood wall, because like you said, BBs don't go through it. However, IRL, in real life, if you're doing that for real, those 223 or 9 mil rounds, yeah, sometimes they'll stop, deviate, deflect, deform when they hit that drywall, those studs, besides myself and Jared, but the ones inside the walls, those will have a tendency to kind of move or deflect those bullets. So we want to teach them and make sure they understand, hey, yeah, you're doing great now. However, you need to continue to move, and that's where we work on those principles. Cool. So we'll kind of get in the meat and potatoes of what a pie would look like. You want me to go out in that hallway over there, Mitchell, and work it?
We can show it from both sides.
Okay,
Yeah.
word. I guess we'll just start in here then?
Yeah, it's empty.
Yep, this empty.
Nice.
All right, cool. So I guess we'll get on this side over here, and I'll start to work a little a little pie. Moving in the direction of travel towards Mitchell. So what I want to do is I like to lean into the wall a little bit and see as far as I possibly can see that direction, if you need to use light or laser or whatever. And as I start to move, I'm going to transition from the far side apex of the doorway to the near side apex of the doorway, so I don't have any overexposure. If I left it over on the far apex when I took a step out, you guys can probably see from the camera's view, that muzzle and my forehand are exposed to whatever's going on this side. So we need to minimize that exposure. And how I minimize that exposure being traced over to the near side apex of the doorway. So we're just going to do that really, really small, taking in little bits of information, trying to lean out on that lead leg a little bit, bring them together and take a little small step, lean out a little bit more. So all I'm doing is gathering information a lot slower. So we teach people to move at the speed they can process information. For some people, this might be it. Might be a good time for me to do this if I had night vision, if I was using those toilet paper tubes on my forehead, taking little bits of 40-degree data, under night vision or IR, little small pieces until I get way over here, not to overexpose my leg or my elbow, and then get against this side. Then I can get set up for the next process or the room entry technique. So one of the things where pieing really highlights itself or really comes into play, like I suggested, is the night vision process. And a lot of you may not have night vision. That's okay, cool. You can still come and play and LARP and do all the things that you want to do. But in some specific cases of mine, having been shot at the doorway, after the rounds zipped through the doorway, I didn't want to just step back in front of it or run across it. So I started taking little small pieces around that door frame to see what was going on, see if I could get depth. By the time I got to that movement or saw a little bit of depth, the bad guy had fled and secreted himself in some crevice elsewhere. So taking little small bits of data, getting a little bit of concealment, because the exterior wall in that case was brick, and the external door was, again, a typical residential door frame. So I had a little bit of cover from the brick exterior of that apartment complex. So again, using the environment to control the tactics. If it had been sheetrock or drywall, well, we're bailing, get the hell out of there. But I decided to take a little bit more, see if I can see some depth in there prior to doing the next thing.
Something I want to talk about on the exposure side, and I'll just do it from here as a left-handed person. So same side that Jason came from. If the rifle is on the same side as the door, and I'm leaning out to the right, as you guys can see, even if I switch from far to near apex, as I start to move, I have a little bit of exposure, and we're moving really slowly. So if I'm moving slowly, giving myself more time, we can agree the bad guy gets more time to process as well, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm showing him a bit of me and I'm moving slowly, he's going to see that bit of me that's exposed here, right? If I'm here and I don't do a good job trying to minimize, you can see my elbow, huh, Mitch?
Yep.
Yeah. So I can't really process anything that my eyes and my muzzle aren't pointed at, which again is that principle of security. So we don't like to teach shoulder swaps for this. You could maybe bump it and end up a little bit more effective. But again, we usually teach bumping as something you do static in a doorway. A true shoulder swap, which you'll see a lot of people who do teach pieing, teach you to shoulder swap, is not something most people are actually good at. We kind of pretend, and again, you get away with it with BBs in a shoot house. So if I fully put this on my right side, right hand controlling fire control, my non-dominant eye trying to work it, I'm not going to be as fast or as accurate. Even if I do identify you at the same time, I have to make movement and decisions on the side of my body that I'm not talented with, and it takes way more training time to get that side of your body up to speed. So if you can't shoulder swap, or we don't teach you to shoulder swap, but you are going to pie from the strong side door, you have to really angle and minimize some things. So again, going back to that left-handed side, I may have to drop that elbow down a little bit and lean. So I'm still in a scanning position, still looking over the top of the optic at y'all, but you're not seeing a ton of me by comparison. And it's the same concept. I'm just leaning out, but I'm creating a line with my body where I'm not upright and everything's sticking out. I'm getting tiny. Mechanical offset when you turn that gun is a big deal. So consider, like, if I'm looking at you guys through this optic right now, you can't see down the muzzle. Those rounds are going to go through this. So you have to understand offset. And if you did have to take a shot, something you can do is lean out and turn the gun, or just step further. So if we're going to pie from the door is on our strong side, pieing away from it, some considerations there that are, in my opinion, pretty important. When we do this force on force, we see people that are pieing across to that non-dominant side, across the non-dominant side, they start taking rounds in the elbow and the leg pretty consistently.
Yep.
So in my opinion, pieing is very contextual. I'm not going to do it a whole lot in real life. You're going to probably do it more when you're moving along your strong side. So if I was over here, again, as a lefty, it's the same as if Jason was doing it from that side. You're seeing my eyes and muzzle at the same time no matter what. So as I'm moving, I'm cutting off these tiny pieces. I'm keeping that line of the eyes and muzzle at the leading edge of my movement. You're not seeing anything of me that I can't shoot and respond from. So that's really hard on the other side. I think people have to take that into context.
Yeah, we don't get to pick how we get stacked up on a door.
Exactly.
You know, we can't control the layout. And again, one of the things that dictates our tactics is the environment. So we don't always get to pick at putting it, on the correct side, or oh man, I don't want to do it this way. I don't want to do it. Well, we don't get a say so in that because the environment's always changing.
Got to be good at both.
And people that will say, well, why don't you shoulder swap? And again, I'm just going to go back to that and just briefly highlight it. Is I'll ask people that ask that question, why don't you shoulder swap when you're doing that particular technique or that tactic? I'm like, well, when's the last time that you did support hand only or offhand pistol work? And they're like, not too often. And why is that? Because it's uncomfortable. They're not proficient with it in their support hand or offhand. So now we're taking a system that is typically, once you build your rifle setup, it is set up for your hand size, your thumb size, hey, my controls are being worked with my support hand. Well, if I bump that shoulder, like you said, now I have to roll that gun inboard so that the optic goes into still trying to get my dominant eye. And then now I'm creating other problems, like you said, the mechanical offset. So then if we do a true shoulder swap and it goes over to the other side, now I'm manipulating the firearm with a hand that I haven't practiced a whole lot with. Now the controls are not set up for my right hand because of the way that you built your design or whatever you configured your rifle. Like my man working the camera, he has a specific rifle setup
touch it.
that we won't fuck with. We will not touch that. So I say all that to say, build it how you want it. That makes it easier for you. Conform to your environment. Try to control your emotions. Try to control your body. Don't give up too much. Calm breeds calmness. Chaos breeds chaos. So if you start getting funky or start moving too fast and you're not processing information, you're overexposing yourself or your teammates, that could be a potential problem. So we want to focus on the small things, highlight the good things, and then if it doesn't work, don't use it.
Yeah, and I think that the real place that this shines for me, like you're talking about understanding your body, the way you move, I really don't like having to do the pie as a primary. I'll use it to buy back a space, or we call it just a buyback. You're buying back a zone that you've cleared across. So if I panned out to a position, let's say I was moving over from this way and I panned out, I have a separate video on panning, I took rounds from somewhere in there. And I'm not sure exactly where at, and we do have cover, right? This is something that I can hide behind and rounds won't go through it. Instead of running back across the door, panning it rather rapidly, this is now a time where I can treat this like it's a barricade. Like think about a VTAC barricade. Okay, where's this dude at? Oh, there he is, right? And I'm not presenting my entire body. I'm not a moving target, but now I'm using cover, concealment, and presenting the smallest part of me possible. So even though people, like we talked about before we filmed the video, I can't just say we hate it because we're teaching it. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it has really good uses in specific cases. And if you think about it kind of like working a barricade drill, you're working around the edge of a barricade, right? If you're good at it, you practice it, you should be good.
Yeah, most law enforcement qualifications have some type of barricade shooting position. For you and I, 25 yards, 6 rounds on the strong side, followed by 6 rounds on the support side, and no part of your body could be exposed beyond the quote unquote imaginary line that was on the deck. So there is some merit to the panning or moving around a specific obstacle. And the purpose behind that drill was to simulate that you're on the side of a building and you don't want to overexpose yourself past the building, so you're trying to minimize that and present your gun out there. And I like to lean over the strong leg forward just a little bit.
Yep.
So I'm pushing off. If I need to move, I can push back with this leg, and we'll talk about that in a kneeling position in a little short coming up soon. So again, it has a purpose by minimizing what the person can see, but maximize what you can see by getting the gun up or leaning out and just getting a little bit work around that barricade. Same thing right here, like you suggested, the VTAC wall. It's just a barricade.
It's just a barricade.
That's
drill.
it. It's a hard edge of a piece of cover, or maybe not so much cover.
Yeah. So taking the theory of teaching, talk about methods-based versus performance-based, or what's the goal that we're trying to reach? And you just said it. The goal is to not be exposed to anything we can't shoot. So what you're probably noticing from this different from our earlier videos that we didn't talk about footwork at all yet. Well, why is that? Footwork's not the goal. Footwork is how we get the goal achieved. And so if we were going to talk about the footwork real quick, you want to work them through it one more time, Jay? You talked about the leading leg and all that kind of stuff. Some people teach it as hips to the wall.
Yeah, contrary to popular belief, I have a pretty good connection with the stock in my shoulder, bringing this thing pretty tight up here, looking over the top of the optic, again, looking in depth on the far side. I start to lean with that strong leg and then go from one apex of the doorway to the near apex of the doorway. Then I'll bring the foot together. Then as I see it, so does my muzzle, so does my optic, and so does my leg. So I'm not overexposing anything. So when I lean out with that lead leg, if there was some problem, my eyes, my muzzle, and my optic are going to see it at the same time as I present that lead leg out.
Look where his hips are facing. They're towards the door. Hips to the door is a big part of this because he's squaring his plates to the target as well.
So I'll bring that left leg closer to the right side and take a step out just a little bit more. Bring the left leg in and take a step out a little bit more. Some people will probably call that like a crab walk, but
Similar.
My goodness, at least I'm not crossing my feet. Oh, Lord have mercy.
You could trip and die, brother.
Yeah, you're going to fall and hurt your skull.
In the teams, brother.
What kind of shoes are those?
What kind of pants are you wearing?
Bugle Boy jeans. And I'm out.
What hair product do you have in, bro?